Good morning, gamers. Welcome back. So, didn't run a game last night. Had some issues, so there was no game. Now, instead, we're going to talk about something else. That's right, I am the AMDM Lee. This is my nice hot cup of coffee, and you're watching behind the screen. Ooh, that's really hot. That is like super hot. That's like I burned my tongue hot. It's like McDonald's hot. Too soon? All right. So, this week on Behind the Screen, I want to talk about character rewards. Now, usually when we think about rewards, we think about two things: treasure and experience points. And now I'm an OG gamer. I've played every edition except for 4th. And back in the day, back in my time, experience points were mattered. So no, back in the day it was all about the experience points. You gain experience points for killing creatures. You had to kill creatures to gain experience points. A lot of the times, the last person that actually put in the killing shot, they're the ones that got the experience points. And then you also had experience points. You also gained an experience point for every gold piece that you had collected. So there were two ways to gain experience points. Now it's not so much. Now you have milestones. You can do it on a milestone, whereas it's a story-driven experience point. Well, not necessarily an experience point, but a story-driven leveling system. Or you can go with the experience point system to level your characters up, to make them more powerful, to make them more, where they gain more abilities. I use a combination of milestones and experience. Usually the first 10 levels, I run it as an experience point to gain up there. But once you start getting into those higher levels and you start looking at the amount of experience points needed to crest to that next level, it gets harder and harder to keep track and doing the math and just keep adding on there, and the numbers get so large that to me it's hard to keep track of. So at that point I transition into a milestone system where I'm like, okay, your characters had some development, it's time to level them up. And I like that. That's my way of doing things. Now, I also have in my own game system, I don't necessarily have experience points. I have what in the Phantom games, I have a way of you don't gain experience points as you use an ability and you max out the dice on it. Every time you max out that dice, you gain a point. When you get X amount of points, that dice goes up a level. It gets either a +1 added to it, or it changes to a larger dice. A D4 becomes a D4 +1, becomes a D6, becomes a D6 +1, becomes a D8, and it progresses up that way. Skill die progression. And it works for the most part until you get to the D12, and then things start getting all over the place. But that's another way of doing things. So, how do you do yours? Are you a milestone person? Are you an experienced person? Now, that's just half of what we were talking about. The other half, talking about is character treasure. How much is too much and how much is not enough? There's a fine line between too much magic or too much gold and not enough gold. And it can be kind of tricky to divide those up. What I try to do is the gold is negligible. I'll use I've got these treasure cards that help out a whole lot, but the players, a lot of the times, gold for everyday purchases, for small things, I don't even track really. Just okay, it's a couple of silver. I don't necessarily track that. Now when they start making purchases, then I'm like, all right, now you've got to spend X amount of money to get this. The horses are cost this much. The bit and bridle cost this much. The saddles cost this much. Saddle bags. When they start getting into hundreds of golds, then we start keeping track. So that's how I balance out that sort of thing. The treasure aspect, the other aspect, is magic items or weapons. How do you determine what weapons to give? I try to give everyone a customized weapon just for them, whereas that is something that's a cool item for their character and only their character can use, or something their character can use really well. So it's one of those things, and you've got to, as a DM, you have to be careful, because you may give them magic items and then not realize, because they say they haven't, you've given them a couple of items here and there, and then you forget, unless you're keeping serious track of what they've got, you forget what they have. And then the next thing you know, they whip out something and goes, poof, blows your shit up. It can be an interesting balance. I roll with the punches. If I've given you something, I've given it to you because I think you've earned it. And, for that type of encounter, most of my encounters are deadly encounters. If you go by the D&D setup, if you use D&D Beyond, the setup on there is great. You can keep adding things and it'll show you how deadly it is according to your character's levels. And I use deadly because otherwise my characters, with their winning and with their dice rolls, my God, their dice rolls are amazing. They will eliminate a creature before the creature has a chance to attack. So I make sure that when my creatures do have a chance to attack, it is enough to put the players on notice that shit is going down. They fight very powerful, dangerous things, and they get very powerful, dangerous items out of it. So what do you guys do? What do you guys think? How do you reward your players with your treasures and things along those lines? That's all I got for today. Just some thoughts. Things rolling around in my head. Next week we should be back with our normal Bridgewater nights, but today, sorry. Just remember, If you like these videos, please click on the like button. If you think someone else would like them, please click on the share button. Every like's an inspiration, every share is an advantage, and every subscription is an experience point. Help me gain 300 experience points so I can get to the second level. And as always, the AMDM does hereby authorize you, the viewer, to gain 10 experience points for every video that you share. Just tell your DM the AMDM said so. That is all I have for now. So, go forth and roll some dice.